felt like talking to your kid was like talking to
Hello, Walls.
The truth is, your teenager wants to talk to you. They would love to tell you all about their world outside of your home. Meet Mike Donahue, youth specialist, school culture expert, school assembly speaker, communicator, author, and all-around cool dude. He has over 3 decades of experience connecting with teenagers and would love to help you connect with yours. Join us for this dynamic podcast.
Hello, Walls.
Hello, I'm Steve Hayes, thought leader and happypreneur. And I'm here with Mike Donahue, Hall of Famer. I call him a Hall of Famer because he's been working with teenagers for over 3.5 decades. He's an author, he's a communicator, he's a school culture expert, and now, to my delight, he is a podcaster. This is his podcast, Yay. Talking to Brick Walls, and I get to come along for the journey and just ask the questions. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing awesome today. Awesome. Patriots won. I'm a Patriots fan. So sorry about that, but I'm from Boston, so I love the New England Patriots.
Because of that, I'm not going to post this podcast until like weeks after the Super Bowl. Right after the Super Bowl, everybody will be like, "What in the world is he talking about?" Anyway, I had this big grin on my face when we started because you guys don't get to see you don't get to see Mike before the recording starts, and then he always. Anyway, Mike, last episode, we're only at episode number 2 right now, and I'm so happy that you're online and you're sharing what you've learned to help us connect with our teenage kids. And that's what Talking to Brick Walls is all about, because that's what it feels like. Oftentimes we're talking to brick walls. So we talked a little about who you were last episode, and even how you got into the point of you took your pain and all of a sudden you want to help other people instead of just focusing on yourself now. I'd like to start getting into the book a little bit. And by the way, you can download Mike's book if you want to follow along with us. We're just going to be getting into the introduction. The book is so good, Mike, that I'm not even going to get past the introduction today. We're not even going into chapter 1 yet. Even the introduction just floored me. It made me stop and go, wow. So many times. So we're probably not going to get out of the introduction. So if you guys would like to follow along with us, we can just go to mikedonahue.co, right? And then click on, What is it, a product page or book page or something like that?
Yeah, resources, and then it'll go right down in the book.
Right on. And then they can get the book from there and even follow along. Yep. So let's talk about the introduction here. You talked a little bit in there about the difference between when your kids are talking to your 3rd grade kid versus when they turn into an 8th grade kid. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, when your 3rd grader talks to you, it's like, they just can't shut up. They just want to talk to you about everything. You ask them how their day, the key, the sentence or the question, how was your day? To a 3rd grader is,
it's like
great.
Open game, man. It's like, boom, start the engine. Here we go.
Right. So, so that's awesome. And I loved that when all my kids were young. I enjoyed, the conversations that we had. I remember my son wrestled and we would go to different tournaments, and he was just a young kid, 2nd, 3rd grade, and just how fun that was. And he would talk about the, different things, and, we just laugh and, that kind of thing. And then, they turn 12, 13, and all of a sudden their social world opens up completely to them. And that's why things get different, because now what they want to talk about is not the science fair in 3rd grade anymore. It is, all this new stuff that's happening and what kids are talking about in school in the hallways, and they're coming down the hallway listening to different things, and their friend groups. And up to that
point, basically, we were their social world, right? It was the family. That was basically the social world. And now it doesn't just kind of double. It like explodes open with all these other possibilities.
Absolutely. So that's exactly what happens. It explodes. It's all new. And they don't know really what to do with it all, because it's a lot of information. That's another thing. Another part of this is that it's not only different, it's overwhelming, because it's powerful. It's way more powerful because now it's social media, and it's a stream of thought that they didn't think about, when they were in 3rd grade, 4th grade. It starts to change 4th, 5th grade, 6th grade, and then they get into 7th and 8th, and it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. That's the truth. So you talk to your child, and here's the thing too, because then you can feel like, man, no matter how good of a parent I am at their third grade level, I feel like I'm just killing it, man. I just feel like I'm knocking it out of the park because my kids don't want to talk to me, right? They're the same kid when they turn eighth grade, seventh grade. Some people might hit it at sixth grade, some at ninth grade, but there's a point in there somewhere where this world gets so big for them, and then it's like they flip 180 degrees where they don't talk to us at all. And so before, it's easy to go, well, I must be a great parent because my kids love to talk to me. Now it's easy to feel like, oh, I'm a bad parent because my kids don't want to talk to me. But that's not the way you want to go, right? What's it like when you talk, about when now your kid's in eighth grade, you ask him how his day is going. He doesn't want to talk about the science fair. He says, fine, right? Dive into that a little bit more. Number one, it's not true that when they don't talk to us, it's not true that they don't love us, right? That's not true, right? But why is it that they stopped?
Yeah, basically because they don't trust you with that information. That's a hard sentence for you to hear right now, some of you parents, but I got to say it again. They don't trust you with that information. That doesn't mean you're not trustworthy. It means the information is toxic. The information is dangerous. The information that they have now going on in their head is different than the science fair in third grade. So yeah, they want to talk about it, but no, they don't, because they know they're going to get a reaction out of you, or you might not like some of it. And so they don't know what to do with that, right? I do think they want to talk to you about it, but I also think that sharing that's dangerous for them, and they don't know what you're going to do with it. So they would rather just go, my day was fine. How's your day? It's good. What do you mean? Yeah. It was fine. I went to school. What else? Nothing. And they shut you down, not because they don't want you to know, but they don't know. If you do know and you don't like it, you might judge them. You might not like them anymore. And that seems like a really crazy thing to say, but I can't tell you how many kids will tell me when I'm in an assembly. I speak in high schools, and when I'm done, there's usually a bunch of kids wanting to talk to me. And a lot of times they'll say this to me. They'll say, I wish I could tell my parents what I just told you. Or I'll ask them. I'll say, did you tell your parents this? No. I go, why? Because I'm afraid what they're going to think of me, if I tell them this. Well, that's, I understand that, but they really don't want to tell me. They want to tell the parent. They want to tell them because you love them more than I do. I care about kids, but I don't care about your kid the way you care about your kid, and no speaker does, no teacher does, no other adult does, but you love them. They know that. They want to tell you, but that it's a two-edged sword, because they want to tell you because you're so important, but they don't want to disappoint you because you're so important.
Yeah. In fact, you said in the introduction, one of your lines were, they didn't decide you weren't cool anymore. They decided they couldn't trust you with important information anymore because they knew you might not like what you were going to hear. They know what your values are, what your family morals are, what your family mores are. They know how they're supposed to react, but they get into a school and there's a whole nother world there. And I know you're going to talk about that in another episode, but that's what you're saying. It's not like they decided that you're not cool. They, like you said, they just said they're just concerned sharing it with you because they do love you that much. You said,
that's, yeah.
Right on. So
go ahead.
That's
go
why.
ahead.
Yeah, that's why in eighth grade they don't talk to you so much anymore. You said this. Talking about this. The line you said in your introduction, where you said, "If we favor quote unquote right behavior over honesty, we inadvertently will create liars out of our children." What? That seems a little potent. If we value right behavior over honesty, we are going to create liars out of our children. That's a potent sentence. What does that mean?
Well, if you're looking for a certain behavior from your kid, which you are, if you're raising them, with morals and values, they know that, and you have an image, and we're going to get into this more. One of the third chapter really dives into this, but you have an image of your child that they know that you have for them, and it's behavior based, right? It's what they do, and so they know that. And they want to project that they're doing that, right? But this whole other world they live in now is is not matching the values at home. Like, I'm just going to say it, the school values, and this is not putting down schools. It's the way it is across the country. The hallways of a high school are not the hallways of your home. So the values and what's important there is not important at home. And so they live in both those worlds. And we're going to unpack that more, as we go down the line here. But just so you understand that's what's happening, is that there's two different governments competing for their loyalty, and they love you. They absolutely love you, and they want to please you, but they also live 8 to 10 hours in this other world. And so if parents don't, if we favor right behavior and we correct their behavior all the time, but we're not understanding these social nuances and this social pressure that they're feeling, then they're going to lie to you. When they're around you, they're going to say, yeah, everything's good. I'm good. I'm glad. Everything's fine. I'm kosher, da, da, da. But then, how they really live. And what the example I use in the book is, I got called over when I was a youth pastor. I got called over to one of the pastors' homes. And their son was in my youth group. The son was, one of my leaders, a student leader, good kid, but I kind of knew what was going on with him, but they didn't. And so when I got over to the house, they had a stack of papers that they had downloaded off his computer. They basically printed all this stuff up that he had on his phone, his computer. Some of it was porn, some of it was music. He was the lyrics of some music he was listening to, and so he was sitting there in a slump, and I walk in, and the mom just basically showed me all this stuff and said, my son's a hypocrite. And I said, no, he's not. He's not a hypocrite. A hypocrite is different. This kid is just a kid who's negotiating two worlds, and you just got a glimpse into this other world that he lives in. And he's been lying to you, not because he hates you or he doesn't, he just wants to deceive you. He's lying to you because he loves you, and he doesn't want you to see this part of him. But this is part of him. This is him. This is his life. He's living this right now. And it all came crashing in on him. And, I was trying to help them understand that he's not evil. He's just a kid dealing with social world. And, he's been living two different worlds. And you create a liar out of your kid if you don't understand that. If you don't understand that side of him or her as well, and you don't go there with them a little bit and provide a pathway for them to be honest about that. And that's what you're doing. You're providing an atmosphere. You're creating an atmosphere by saying things to them like, listen, I love you no matter what, and I want you to be honest with me, and I'm going to really try hard not to judge or come down on you if you tell me what's going on, but I really want to know what's going on. If you're struggling with anything, I want to be the one that you're able to tell. And that's you got to put your money where your mouth is, because if you say that, then you better be willing to, listen and don't judge. And we can get into some more specifics of that, as we go. But that's really what you're trying to do. You don't want a liar out of your kid. You want your kid to tell you the truth. When I was a youth pastor, I used to say to my parents, I want your kids to sin in front of you. And they would look at me like, what? And I don't, and sin, I mean, bad behavior, not meeting the expectations of the
making mistakes,
home.
yeah, falling on your face, so to speak, yeah.
Right. And basically I want them to do it in front of me because I can coach it when it's in front of me. I can't coach it when it's under the table and they hide it. And then who knows who's coaching them then? You know what I mean? Other peers and, that kind of thing. So we definitely want that honesty has to be a premium. You got to want honesty more than you want good behavior.
More than you want them to say what you want them to say, right?
Right.
It's funny because it's easy to say, well, my kid shouldn't do that, and why would he do that, and that doesn't help. And yeah, logically on paper, that all makes sense, but we all do it, Mike. I mean, how many times has someone said, hey, does this shirt look all right on me? Do these pants make me look fat? Right? And you're like, yeah, they do. But do you ever say, yeah, they do? No, you don't give them honesty. You give them what you think they want. But your kids are dealing with something even far more than just, do these pants make me look fat? I mean, we have a hard time being honest sometimes when people ask us questions like that. But your kids are dealing with, the worlds that they're dealing with are just massive. And remember, they're still just a kid. They don't really know what they're doing. So, I mean, we all do it. It only makes sense that our kids would do that with us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You also said having behavior expectations without truly understanding the complexities of the social world can create dishonesty in their communication with us. In other words,
Yeah.
their social world is pretty complex right now. I mean, we say, well, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, but boy, when I look at my boys' memes, I have no idea what in the world they're even talking about. But, talk about that a little bit. What do you mean the complexities of their social world? You're not just talking social media here.
Right. I think they're specific social world. So if they're on the volleyball team, what's the culture like on the volleyball team? If they're on, if they're on the sports team, if there are, if they have, scouting, whatever social, if they're in a church group or youth group, whatever they're in, that they're being, influenced by that social culture. You want to know what's going on. You want to, you're not prying and not invading it, but you want to kind of have an ear to what's happening, because that's probably where their social pressure is coming from. So we need to be, as parents, we need to kind of have an understanding of it, and ask questions along those lines. And again, not to be invasive, but to be on top of it. And if they're not telling you about it, there's ways for you to find out, without them knowing, but it's a really good idea to know what pressure that they're feeling right now. And we need to be students of that.
Okay. So I was just going to ask, so we need to study, we need to learn from them. Are you going to talk about that more in some episodes down the road when we get into that, like some things that we can do to kind of enter their world a little bit and figure out, other than, number one, we need to be students of our kids, right? We need to study them, find out what they're into.
Yeah, probably one of the main themes that you're going to hear a lot from me, and you're probably going to get sick of it, but it really is the number one thing that you need to do is listen. Is just even if you're in a fight with them and they start spewing off a bunch of stuff, listen between the lines. Listen to the frustration. Listen to the tension that they're feeling, because that's important. That's what's happening with them. There's tension. There's this tension of, I love my parents. I love the values I grew up with, but I'm living in this world that if I don't meet this criteria, again, we're going to get into this more, when we talk about this, but if I don't meet these expectations that my social world has for me, there is a consequence. And you have to understand that as a parent. There's a consequence that for them not going by the rules socially. Either they're going to get shunned, or they're going to be outright attacked if they don't, follow the certain rules. And they change. They're not always the same. As they get older, they change. They also change. They're different for every school or every youth. As I speak in schools, there's different types of rules for different communities. And if you go to an affluent community, obviously there's more. There's money expectations, there's, monetary expectations, things like that. If you're in a poor area, there's social skills that are, that you have to negotiate. So there's a lot of different things that you need to know as a parent. What are they dealing with? Where's the tension coming from? And then offering some, relief to that. If you're just another voice of saying, well, you need to meet these expectations in this home because these are more important. Well, they're going to do it to your face, but then they have to go to school and they've got to, deal with this stuff that's going on, for longer. It's 8 to 10 hours. If they're into sports, it's longer. And so, you as a parent really need to understand that. So you're not another voice and just adding pressure upon pressure, but understanding where that tension is coming from.
Yeah. You said, that, let me see. I wrote it down because it was really good. I think it'd be very good for the parents right now to hear you say this again. But your kids do want to talk to you. And you said something in the introduction that says there is tremendous pressure for young people to manage today. Why wouldn't they want the people who love them the most to help them manage these pressures. Could you just go that in for the parents that maybe are listening and all this information is a lot to take in and go, oh no, my kids are going down this path, going down this. Just talk about that a second. Just reaffirm us as parents that they do want to hear from us and they do need to hear from us and they do care about us.
Yeah. Yeah, they do. They want to hear from you. They love you. You love them. They know you love them. At the end of the day, they know that you love them more than anybody in their social world could ever love them. The consequences that the people in that social world give them is what's driving them. It's not the love or the loyalty they have for this new social world. That's what you have to get through your head, because if you're thinking it's a loyalty issue, then you're going to get frustrated. It's not a loyalty issue. It's an issue of they're paying a social price for not at least pretending that they are going by those rules. They will pay a price. And so that's the leverage that social world uses. The leverage you have is that you love them and you care about them. They know that. And so you have to leverage that. You have to be able to communicate that clearly, that you love them, and that the reason why you don't want them to do certain things is not because you need to protect an image of your family, whatever, but you love them and you're scared for them and you care about them and you want the best for them. If that gets clearly communicated, then you're on the right track.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is exactly how you ordered it or not, but this is really what you said. And I think this is a great way to finish this. I'm going to ask if there's anything else that you want to say to the parents in this to wrap this thing up. But I just want to double down on what you said. And in the introduction, near the end, you said, even though teenagers act like they don't need us, they really do. And listener, watcher, listen, your kids need you, and they need you right now, and they might act like they don't, but don't follow their actions. You know that they need you, and they might not be the most open like they were in third grade, but that doesn't mean that we don't figure out some ways that we can connect with them, because they really do need you. Anything you'd like to say about that, or anything else you'd like to say to wrap this thing up?
Going back to the third grade analogy again, when your son or daughter in third grade made a mistake, you had no problem making sure there was a separation between the punishment and the fact that you love them, or the consequence, for their action, and the fact that you love them. We did that. They get upset, they get in trouble, they get upset, they sit in their bed, you go in, you talk to them, you make sure, listen, I love you even though you messed up. The teenage years are the worst possible time for that to stop. It's the easiest time for that to stop, because they
say that mean. Again.
It's the worst possible time to stop telling them that you love them. It's the easiest time because they look mean. They look like they don't need it. They look like they don't care. But you can't mirror back what they're giving you. You have to look through them and know that in their heart of hearts, even though they're acting really strange right now, they want you to not stop loving them. Don't stop loving them. Don't stop communicating that you love them, because ultimately that wins. That's going to be the thing that wins.
Because of their actions, because they're trying to figure this thing out, it is the easiest time to stop communicating with your kid and to just close down and to stop giving them the guidance that they need. But it is the most important time to not do that. That is so good. That is so good. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. Thanks for all of you that are watching and listening. We hope that helped.
MikeDonahue.co, MikeDonahue.co, MikeDonahue.co.
You can find his book there. You can find his book there, Talking to Brick Walls. Maybe you want to get it and follow along with us. But stick around. We're going to help with our communication gap, talking to our teenagers, talking to what we think are brick walls, but they really do need you. Thanks for listening.
Hello, walls.